So this is an is300 steering wheel with a not so great steering wheel cover on it because it's not so great condition. And it has cruise control and shifting buttons and a horn. The airbag is running off of a separate connector, which I'll show in a second how that connector behaves. Now, if you look at this connector here that goes into your clock spring, you have what your up-down buttons do, your shared thing, your cruise, and your horn. And then this serves as your ground. So your horn has a path here, okay, that the airbag makes contact with this entire black metal housing. The two screws further enforce that. These screws are these funky little your Torx, not Allen. And this brass contact here is not at the same potential as this metal work until the metal housing of the airbag that's touching this connects that. So this guy that's floating with this system with the airbag touches that. And if these are really dirty, then they're not going to do a good job of letting your horn beep when you push on the left, right, or bottom. So I have to clean one of these, which is why I'm checking into this. But also, when you push these buttons on here, they all use a shared connection, the same as the ups and down buttons use. And so the shared is like a signal type common, but not a standard ground. And then this guy, up, down, towards you, and on, what was it, on, off? Yeah, on, off, yeah. Are all based on resistor values that I'll link to. Anyway, all this goes through your clock spring. And these are two identical is300 clock springs in good shape. This is your airbag connection, which it might vary year to year, but I don't think so. I think a 1 to 05 I'll wear the same connection on that. Oddly, the seats are different though. And that's your clock spring connector. And inside of here is a flex cable that's wound up. So you want to be careful not to mess with those. So what you do is, when you're sitting in your car and you're going to mess with this stuff, you turn your wheel all the way left, and then you count the number of revolutions to all the way right. And this applies to any vehicle with a clock spring, which is basically any vehicle, because that's how your airbag and everything else gets through. And then you put it back to middle of what the number of revolutions is. And when you disconnect this wheel, your clock spring is going to be in the center position. And the clock springs typically have writing on them that tell you how many revolutions you can make. If they don't, then what you want to do is wind them all the way tight, okay? And then go back the number of revolutions that your wheel would go all the way the other way. And some of them you'll go a little further. Then you want to go back like you would if you're putting the wheel back to the middle position, like to straighten out your wheels. If you don't understand this and don't know what you're doing, get a professional to help you or pay it out. But it's something that's easily neglected, because if you have your clock spring in the wrong position and you turn your wheel, you're going to damage some of those connections. So in my case, I don't think I have a clock spring issue. I don't think I've ever actually personally encountered one. On some of my older cars, they make kind of funny noises, but they're all in the right position, so I'm not concerned about that. And I have 2 extras, so also that expensive part is just standing by should I need it. But in my case, my horn's not working well because of dirty contacts. I bought a very dirty, but not badly scratched steering wheel, and I have to take it apart and clean it because only the top left work. And I wasn't too concerned when I figured that out. I mean, I tested it the night I put it together, and these two were working and this guy wasn't. I thought, well, it's not the end of the world. And now this top right one's not working from other, dust that floated around. So I got to take the whole thing out to clean it. At least I'll have to take the airbag out. And in doing that, my horn will be restored. So in my case, because I've got at least one thing working for the horn, it's fairly straightforward. If your horn isn't making any sound at all, you'll want to push down on it and listen for a relay. And bear in mind, your horn works so long as you have a good battery. So if your car will start, if it will, turn on headlights and stuff, even with your key out and your car in an off position, just about any DOT approved car's horn will work when the car is not energized, because the battery is always providing power to the horn circuit. And you'll hear a relay click on the is300. So when you push the horn, if you hear a relay, then it issues downstream. Now, to be very clear, inside your engine bay of an is300, there's actually a third horn that isn't for the horn. It's for when you beep your car keys. It makes a very nice Lexus sound instead of like a beep beep like a Honda will often make. It makes the typical Lexus, sound, which some of the higher end Toyotas do as well, especially in the newer years. So that guy has nothing to do with that horn circuit, and I think he has a 2-wire typically. On the is300, the 01 years, that's further located deeper into the bay and more obvious on the 02, 3, 4, and 5. But your horn is on the front bumper, right behind the vanity grille, and it's using a ground from how it's installed, and so it's a 1-wire with a hot, and the hot runs back past the latch hook for your hood latch and the steel braided wire adjuster, and then it runs kind of around the corner around your condenser and your radiator, and very often it gets pinched right in that space for a number of reasons and ways. So if you're debugging an issue like that, this information should help you a tad, and this is actually useful for me to look at. And again, like, just because I was curious to see, it's been a while, how the cruise worked. I double checked this while I was looking at this. And the up and down, they just use a standard open closed. Yeah, that's in a nutshell, this whole situation. And I'll just show you here. This is floating. So when the airbag is here, there's a metal pogo that's like not quite making contact with that brass. And when you push it, it goes down into that. And that's the same for all 3 of these contacts. And those contacts are supposed to make good contact to this magnesium aluminum material that then pushes to ground through your steering column and all the metal work in the car. Chassis ground. When you're trying to remove these guys, one thing you can do, of course, you want to disconnect your battery just in case some crazy crap happens with your airbag. But yeah, disconnect your battery. And then you can loosen that bolt, and then once the bolt's out, it's probably going to be kind of stuck. You just go around and just tap the thing repeatedly, pretty hard, and eventually it'll wiggle off of the splines. And then you want to be sure it's dead straight when you start that and dead straight when you stop and put it back on. Otherwise, you're going to have a little bit of skew on where your wheel sits, which is annoying. So that's that.